Welcome to another episode of the 116 Life here on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. Listen, shout out to everyone that's tuned in to us right here, right now. As always, I am Meah Evans, one of your hosts. And I have, of course, the one, the only Ace Harris with me. What's going on, Ace?
Feeling good. Back from Paris.
You know what I'm saying? How was that?
It was great. I was at the Olympics. I say that with a little hesitation because people had a little interesting experience with the Olympics recently. But overall, it was great. It was great. Liberia representing.
In the building.
Shout out all my Liberians. Even because there's one Liberian artist in CHH, Jordan Rambo. I wanted to shout him out. He does a club in LA.
Oh, that's
fire. A Christian club. Super dope dude. So yeah, man, Liberians, Africans, we here, man. So yeah, let's turn up. Let's get it.
In the building, man. Listen, we have a great one. Such a great one this week, man. When I tell you this guest is so necessary, we're grateful for him in so many ways. We're going to tap more into that. We have James B. Rosseau Sr. here, better known as Trig.
Talk about it.
On the building.
She did the B in the
C.
Wow.
Hey,
Trig.
Reverence,
I'm so honored to be on the couch.
How are you feeling, man?
I'm feeling blessed.
Listen, man, so for those who don't know, we're so grateful for Trig just because he's a pioneer, a trailblazer, a visionary in so many ways because he owns Holy Culture Radio. We're able to hear this show. He is responsible. So hear me when I say we're so grateful for you.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Talk about how you're adjusting to the season of life right now. Like how's life treating you? Just share, give us a peek into your world.
I'm a new grandfather. So
okay, congratulations, man. That's what's up.
That's what comes off top of mind. He's
okay.
2, or I'm sorry, 18 months.
Don't you love it when men, like, when you ask them what's going on, they just like gush about their family.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's beautiful.
You know what I'm saying?
Because it's rare.
It's like immediately, bro. I love that. It makes me smile.
I'm looking forward to seeing him next week. My son is flourishing in his new career. My son's 32. He's flourishing.
Okay.
My wife and I are celebrating 28 years of marriage this
year.
So I'm looking forward to vacation. That's kind of top of mind. 28 years, bro. And so those are the things that are top of mind. I think in this season, I'm also just loving the work I get to do every day. Like I feel so blessed every day to walk into the Holy Culture offices, sit down, take it in. We've got our space. We've got our vision. We've got a team. Like any other company, you got things that you feel aren't filled yet. You know what I mean? Spaces that aren't filled.
Sure.
But just to be honored to do that work, and every day I leave the office, not that it wasn't tough some days, but like just feeling blessed, like to be able to do this work.
You got I mean, obviously, you know, you ain't new to this, man. You true to this. Like you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
But you move you guys really like startup, like right out of Silicon Valley energy, bro. Like, I mean, I just want to say the way you move is very like inspiring.
Thank
you know what I'm saying?
That
Like,
means a lot,
I mean, obviously, you know, you are older than me, and not by much, but you move like a young boy, man.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? It's really dope to see because I feel like sometimes I'm reading this book called. I forget the name of it, but it's about like aging well, and I feel like it's been helping me to understand how to grow in a way that you mature, but you don't lose your fire. And I feel like when I see you, I'm like, yo, Trig moving like somebody that's like 25 that just got an angel investor out here, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's just moving like very like succinct, man.
Thank you,
it's good to see, man.
That, man. Thank you.
I want to talk about just Holy Culture for a little bit. Was having a station an initial ambition for you?
Yeah, so how far do I go back? We tried to do this with Sirius XM over 10 years ago. Like literally this time we got the deal. I pulled out the proposal we wrote then. Then I laughed at it. I was like, oh my God, I can see why they said no. Like that joint was
hindsight
2020. Hindsight 2020 was like 2011, something like that. But yes, because at the time we felt like it was an artery into the community. You know what I mean? Like you felt like, and Deuce used to say it all the time from the cross movement, like we've got a lot of great artists, a lot of great urban missionaries, but we lack the platforms. And for me, it's like, okay, how do we build highways?
Yeah.
Like I can help build catalogs of songs. I grew up as a producer, an artist, a DJ, but like how do I, and it was funny because even when I moved from artist to producer, my thought process was I could be like Michael Jackson or I could be like Quincy Jones. I can help build more Michael Jacksons.
I love
so
that.
That's when I built the studio in the crib and we started doing different things. And so then when it got to radio, it was the same thing. Like, okay, I could do a show, or I could help build a platform for shows.
Talk about it, bro.
That's
right?
So good,
and so I've always, it seems like I've always started as the creator and then tried to figure out how to get to the business model to help other creators. And so for me, radio was as a necessary thing because again, it's a platform. Yeah.
What are the, that's so inspiring in so many ways. What are the highs and lows that come with like creating a platform? Because don't get me wrong, everyone wants to be the boss. You know what I'm saying? Everyone wants to be the boss, but so much comes with that. But you also learn so much and it builds character in you. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. I think the highs are, if it's missional, then you're living into the mission, right? And that's obviously with anything, but that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think about building a platform. For me, it's not for Holy Culture's sake. It was for the genre, the community, for the presentation of the gospel. And so literally just a couple years ago, when I left the corporate space to do this full time, which was like a full leave, like, to leave corporate. I was in senior roles. I was a chief commercial officer in my last company,
you was
right?
C-suite vibe.
Yeah, I was C-suite. And so, you have your friends calling you like, bro, what's good? What do you mean you're going to run a nonprofit? And I'm like, but this is the calling. And so then I'm asking God for clarity on it. And, one day in my prayers, God gave me a number like, you need to reach this kind of mass of people. And I was like, a lot of times after you pray, you write stuff down in your journal. I couldn't write it down. It took me days. The number was too big. The number was
Care
too
to share?
big.
Or was it?
It was 50 million. You need to reach 50 million people by like 2030s.
Wow.
And so I remember saying it to my wife, and my wife said, well, it could mean like you touch a person, then they touch people. I said, nah. I said, no, it's not that. Wow. I said, and so the irony was I happened to look up and see Sirius XM had the window open again for proposals. They have a suite of like 12 to 14 channels they leave open for special programming every 5 years per their FCC order. They open up for leasing a channel. I go, oh my God, the window's open, but it's due in like 45 days. And so literally my wife had something going on, and I said, man, I need to go away for a weekend while you're doing your girls thing. I'm gonna get a hotel and just write the proposal. I wrote a 50-page proposal and sent that mug in. And this time they called and said, let's talk about it.
Wow.
Right. And I didn't look at the other one. Like I looked at it and flipped through it, but I didn't take anything from it. I said, I'm going to write all over again.
Wow.
Brand new.
And the difference, man, is God's provision. Because from the time of that other one to this time, I had moved into senior roles and was also in my chief commercial officer job. I was responsible for corporate strategy. So, you know what I mean? So God gave me these experiences to manage financials. I was running a $200 million P&L at the company. Then I was, you know what I mean? And so those experiences then helped me write different.
That's so dope, because I feel like there's ambition and dreams.
Yeah.
But there's also being equipped with the skill set.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, not to say that God can't use people who don't necessarily have the skill set, but just hearing you, like you had 45 days to turn in a proposal that would essentially change the trajectory of this platform.
Yeah.
Like, were you feeling a sense of pressure when you were writing, or were you kind of like Kobe game, like fourth quarter, like locked in? Like, I feel like I got the skill set.
I felt locked in. Yeah, I felt locked in because I had a vision of what I knew it could be. I had a vision of who I wanted to be a part of it.
Right.
I did the tried old true, work with people like, and trust. So that's why I listed all the hosts, and Wado and DJ Severe, who had been with me, and all those different people. I had a sense of what I thought the station should sound like. And then I had a sense of like how I wanted to present the business model of it. Right. And that's what I think was really different for them, is that when we had the conversation, one of the things they said was, I said, listen, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a 3-decade radio guy. And they said, exactly. They said, we see your business perspective. Wow. That's helpful for us.
Gosh. So was there like reservation on the platform having a very explicit Christian?
None. From them?
Yes.
None, because they had other channels. They had the Kirk Franklin Praise. They've got The Message, which is CCM. They had the Joel Osteen channel, the Catholic channel.
Was there a reservation about it being Christian hip hop? Was there like, how's this gonna work? How's the listenership?
Because their ultimate goal, and first of all, they've been wonderful partners, and so I want to big up Sirius XM. But also the reality is, when they merge Sirius with XM, one of the things that the Senate said to them is, you guys are creating a monopoly in the space. And so once again, we'll have a big media space that is not having these other voices. And so they said, we got you, FCC, Senate. Gotcha. We will create a suite of channels that can apply to lease a channel to provide for those voices. So for them, I think it was less about the genre and whatnot. It was more about, are you meeting the needs of an unserved population? And that's what the first part of my proposal talked about. This underserved population, how deep they were, what the needs are. In our Core Link Ministries nonprofit, one of the things we always talk about is the whole byline is empowering people to reach their potential. Gotcha. So we've always talked about the school to prison, pipeline. We always talked about how can we help and serve people and at the ultimate level. So all that was able to pour into here as well, but then with a solution statement, right? Like if we can touch their hearts, if we can give them, and we use a 4 acronym pillar, faith, arts, vocation, education. So if we can get a drumbeat of programming that touches their faith, that helps pull their arts out of them to understand we left brain, right brain people, that talks about vocation, meaning careers and how you can matriculate, and then talks about education as a through line through the first 3. Like if you got to continuously learn and be a lifetime learner, it's like we'll do our job. We'll reach them.
If I'm on the Sirius board and you pitching that proposal, bro, I'm writing that check right now. Because that man is going in right now.
Yeah.
Shout out your faithfulness, man. That's super encouraging.
So you get cleared with Sirius. Can you describe what that reaction is? Like, were you overwhelmed with how much you had to do? Like, what was left, or were you excited? Can you describe those emotions?
I wasn't sleeping for, like they said, we had the meeting, you have the interview on the Zoom screen. It's like the corporate attorney, head of programming, nice smiles, nice conversation, but they're not committing. They're interviewing everybody who's proposed. So then they said, you'll hear from us in a certain period of time. Bro, it seemed like years. I mean, it's only weeks, right? But every day I come home and look in the mailbox. I'm waiting for something. One day my wife and I come home, I pick out the mailbox. There's a letter. We get off on an elevator to our floor, and I look at the envelope, and I look at my wife. I said, I think this is the letter. I think this is the yes or the no. Open the door, open it, and they said yes. Wow. Teared up. Teared up. Felt like I was being obedient. Yeah. Right? And that, I lost my father. I'm sure you can appreciate this. I think no matter how old you are, you want your dad to be proud. You want your heavenly father to be proud, but you want your natural father to be proud too, right? Yeah. And I lost my dad, I think when I was about 19. So I've always had, listen, I'm susceptible as all get up, man, to validation issues. That's a part of my story.
That's like the human condition.
Yeah, I mean, for real.
We all in it, fam.
I've accomplished a lot because of validation issues, trying to prove stuff. That's how I succeeded in corporate. And so it's got some goodness to it, but it's got some badness to it.
Sure.
But in moments like that, I felt like I was making my heavenly father proud. I felt like I was making my dad proud, like to do what I said I would do and try to get through this door. Yeah. And
those tears, obviously tears of joy and just relief.
Sure.
How did those tears represent a bigger community? Like, did you feel like a weight or responsibility or, hey guys, this is our moment too. Like, talk about how those tears reflected the larger community as well, man.
Wow, that's a good question. I think, first was, okay, now we gotta get this money up. Now we gotta put the money up, right? Yeah. And I had already told my wife, this is what it's gonna take. Told my accountant, this is what it's gonna take. Just cheat code for some of the people who are thinking about doing something like this. I even sent an email to my accountant, my lawyer, and someone else of, we're doing this proposal. This is the amount of money we think we'll need to allocate if we get it. And I included that in our proposal. So they would see that we were fully committed. So the first thing was, okay, now we gotta move some funds, we gotta make it happen. The second thing was, all the people I had talked to, I was wickedly just happy to be able to call them and say, we're going in. Yeah. Right? Now we gotta get ready. Yeah, now we gotta get ready. Yeah.
That's so exciting.
And we planned like a mug. We planned, you ever, when you do like major launches, you have, test runs and all those things. We planned all the test runs, and now we had to get with the engineers and get all the systems. I mean, when you're doing a Sirius XM channel, you're constantly running 4 lines of data, like 2 lines to DC, 2 separate lines to Virginia for backup, and you're on 24/7. And so it's a major technological operation. I remember when I told them we need to get the lines going, and I called the guys at Comcast and got them on the phone with the engineers at Sirius. I said, no, you're not getting regular Wi-Fi. You're not getting, there's no explanation to you. You know how you can get on the plane and you can go from coach to first class? No, you got to buy your own private jet.
Oh, bandwidth.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh, I got you. I mean, I underestimated that part.
Listen, now when we come back, I really want to dive into, because I can only imagine the things from childhood to your corporate life that made you who you are today. And we're going to dive back into that here on the Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140 here on the 116 Live, here with Ace and Meah and Trig. We're sitting here. We'll talk to you soon, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back. This is the 116 Life Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. I'm here with Meah and Trig, and just, offline, just being really inspired about your story, just hearing the details of the journey, and also just hearing about your dad. From where I sit, I see a very accomplished, operationally savvy, CEO businessman. And I know that you're probably like, yo, Ace, thank you, but you don't know what it took to get here.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
So I'm always curious of how that story kind of got put together. So just walk us through young Trig, man, growing up. What was that like? What was the ups and downs of that upbringing?
I mean, I wasn't a horrible kid. I was a kid, man, with thick bottle Coke glasses, who didn't have the self-confidence, and then. My father was a preacher.
Okay.
And an insurance man, loved to ride around with his car. He would collect premiums, but then when they got divorced, I went to live for him for a while. And one day I came home from school, man, he didn't come home. One day turns to a second day turns to a third day, he doesn't come back. I'm living with now my grandmother, because they live together.
Sure.
And I stopped going to school. I tried to take my after school job and turn it into a full-time job, thinking I could save the house.
How old were you at doing this part?
I was, 16.
Okay.
16 or so. And so he never comes back, man. So finally, we send my grandmother down south. I move back in with my mom. About a year or so goes by, and I get a call that he's in a halfway house. And I go see him.
Gotcha.
Now I'm now working. I'm now out of high school. The college thing didn't work. Financial aid didn't go through, and I'm working at the Four Seasons Hotel overnight, valeting, parking cars, doorman.
Okay.
I see him. I take him clothes. I take him different things. He disappears again.
Okay.
I get a call or letter, from a nun that says he's in the hospital in New York City.
Gotcha.
And this is a couple years later, because my son's now born. I go up to see him. And he's in this room, man, with a hot plate. He's a YMCA. He disappears again, bro.
Okay.
And then I have to go back up, and he's in the hospital, and they tell me, you can't take your son up to the floor. And I go up to the floor. They say, you got to put on gloves. And that's when I knew he had AIDS, right? AIDS passed away. I broke, man. Like, you do all the things that you're supposed to do in that moment. You know what I'm saying? But I had always had this thing of, I never felt like I was validated. I never felt like he was confident in me, and I was always seeking it. Even when he was going through these stretches, even when he was in the room with the hot plate, I still wanted to hear that, like,
good job,
I'm proud of you or something, right? And I just wasn't getting it. And so when he passed, you do all the things you're supposed to do to get to the funeral. And at the funeral, man, when the director said, hey, I want you to come up and close the casket, that's when I broke. I broke at that moment of my hand on it. I just could not. And I remember one of my mom's good friends came up and put her arms around me. I just could not, because it was like closing the casket on the possibility of getting his validation. And bro, so then after that, I became a superstar. You ask anybody in my corporate circle after that, bro, I was good at everything corporately. I was good at finances. I was good at leading people. I've read, you name a leadership book. Lincoln on leadership, Stephen Covey, Principles of Highly. I know all the joints. Okay, I know all the models. Okay,
what made you? What drove you to go seek that? Yeah,
I think unconsciously, man, just validation, just wanting to be acknowledged, just wanting to be seen. And I didn't know it. And I'll be honest, man, I did it for years. I was excelling at JP Morgan Chase. I became, again, one of the youngest senior vice presidents, and so on and so forth. And then I had a moment of, okay, something's not totally right. You think what I'm saying? Like, and I remember I finally said, I'm gonna go see a counselor. And
you out of your own inkling, own tuition?
Well, I had a couple moments of acting out that I knew weren't healthy.
Sure.
And so I said, let me go see this. And he was so good to me. He said, you know what I need you to do? He said, you need to tell your father how you really feel. And I was like, what? He said, write it down. Write it in a letter. I wrote the first draft and I brought it back to him. He said, you open with, Dad, sorry we haven't talked in a while, this, that, and that. It's not your fault you haven't talked. Why are you opening with an apology? I need you to say exactly what you need to say, because then we're going to put it in the bottle, and when you go on vacation next month, you're going to send it out to sea, assuming he gets it. Bro, I wrote that second copy.
That second draft?
He was like, that's it. That's the one. That's the one.
The rewrite.
That's the rewrite. I think my wife and I were in the Bahamas or something, sending it out to sea. And there was a releasing. There was a feel of like, I got it out.
I think that's so interesting because, like, speaking of fathers and their sons, and fathers and their daughters, I mean, we've had conversations too, Meah. It's like, famous host Joe Budden on his podcast made a comment that stuck with me. He was like, saying how, like, I got kids and I'm a present dad. Yeah. I'm way more present than with my kid now than my dad ever was. He was like, my son don't understand when we was growing up, when your dad said he going to the store, he going to the store, he might not come back. And when he said that statement, I was like, oh, that's not a joke. He's real. That's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
And so as someone whose dad never went to the store, because my dad was always with me, when I hear those stories, I'm like, oh, how does it feel for your dad to just walk out and not come back? Yeah. I don't even know. I don't even have a concept of how that would influence, or possibly damage a young. And
I'm happy you don't, bro.
Because say more. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying I'm happy you don't, because I think that we would all say, particularly those from Black and brown communities, that fatherlessness was a big thing that happened back, particularly during the crack era, right? And the reverberating generational effects, we're still feeling them. The trauma, the lack of guidance, even physically and spiritually. Like, there's something when Black men are spiritual and lead the house that way. Or,
yes. Oh yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Right? And so that loss in our community, I think, has had devastating impacts that we're still trying to figure out sometimes.
So I think it's dope that you were self-aware over time I mean, shout out to you, man, for having the humility, transparency to open yourself up to the tools that it may have needed to have to get you here. Because I think, unfortunately, some sons don't revert back to those tools and end up repeating that cycle. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure your dad's looking down at you right now.
I know he is, man.
Like, yo, that's my boy, man.
I know he is.
Yeah. That's
growing up, how did that relate? All those things that happen with validation, your father, things like that. How did that play with your relationship with God? Like, either good or bad, you know what I'm saying? How did God weigh in on you when it came through you going through those things?
It's so funny. I haven't shared this story a lot, but so when my dad was a preacher, they would have these annual conferences called Chautauqua. I don't even know what Chautauqua means, man, but and he would be up there with all the ministers on the roster and whatnot, man. I think I'm 12, maybe 14, and he's up there with all these preachers, and this woman gets up. And the room is packed. I want to say between 500 and 1,000 people. I'm back, several rows back with my mom, and this woman says, "You, come here." Mom says, "She's talking to you, baby." Why me? You know what I mean?
For sure,
bro. I was such a wimp. I was a nerdy kid, DJ, everything. And I walk up to the front. And she puts her hands on me and she said, "You will touch millions." Sends me back to my seat.
God still speaks.
Now, from that time forward, as things are happening, I'm not strong on my faith at all. Like, I'm not. I'm doing my kid thing. I'm a DJ. I'm running around rapping. I'm doing secular music. 97 or so. After my wife and I, get married, before my wife and I get married, first of all, my wife, Aisha Rosseau, is like the biggest blessing in the world. She is like Jesus' voice in the room for me. My way my wife talks with me, and she says, I had been in the Nation of Islam for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Validation. Men.
Sure.
Strong men.
Sure.
It was easy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Until one day we had
And Philly, too. Philly's really big out there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Philly's big heavy.
It's like the recruiting. It's like the military out there, bro.
Bruh. I mean, I was snapping, popping, the whole, I had the suits, I had Final Call bean pie.
You had the bean pies going on there?
I would hit you with that bean pie.
Hey, I would have bought about 2 of them. Things
I was strategic. When you came off the highway, I had this spot, and I'd be out there in my suit. Final Call, ladies. Oh, but you don't want the word, you need the pie. If you're going to get the pie, you need something to read with the pie. All right, brother, all right. So I come out of the Nation, and I'm in this state of, I know there's a God, but I'm not ready to commit to anything. And as I'm spending time with my wife, she is reasserting like you need to figure that out. Like you need to spend time with the Lord and ask him to be evident to you, right? And I'm going through my season, so I do. I get myself together. We get married. 97, man. I'm in the studio. My brother-in-law has a building on Fifth Street. Shout out to Omar, Diggity, and Khalid. And I'm in the studio. And they're like, hey, we got a friend. Can he come down to the studio and wants to hear some of your beats? I'm working on tracks. He comes down. I'm doing all secular music. I'm working on Sprite commercial, producing stuff.
Cooking.
I was trying to, at the time, I was great signed with Flavor Unit Productions or Rush Producer Management. Either one of them, right? I was supposed to be signed with one of them. They come down. He comes down, listens to the tracks, and he goes to walks out. He said, yo, you do some dope stuff. It's a shame it's not for the Lord. I said, I'm sorry, what'd you say? He said, you do some dope stuff. It's just a shame it's not for the Lord. And walks out. Hey, check your guy, check your boy. Who is this guy, right? I'm so upset, man. I'm still crusty. So I'm saved, but I'm crusty, bro. I'm producing secular music. He says, well, that's Brady. He goes to our church, this, that, and that. I'm convicted the next day.
Whoa.
Next day, I call every secular group I'm working with. You got a week to finish your track. I am fully committing to the Lord. The Lord has shown me that I may not be saying it, but I'm producing a soundtrack for things that are not supportive of him, counter to him. I can no longer produce the soundtrack for that. Cat's like, bro, you ain't working on this. I'm out.
And you had motion too.
Yeah. Bro, I had motion.
That's the thing. People, it's easy to say no when you ain't.
I was in New York. I had met Heavy. Heavy introduced. He's like, man, talk to PD about this. I'm talking to Pete Rock. Like I'm working my way up through the mix. Shut it down. He hears I shut it down. He comes back and then totally introduces himself as Fanatic from the Cross Movement. He brings the rest of the Cross Movement with them. He brings Deuce, the ambassador. He brings Juan was still living at that time, and Cruz Cordero. They come down in the studio and they're like, Deuce can be very dramatic. I need you to confess before men why you stop doing this and give your heart to the Lord, right? So, or like fully give your heart to the Lord or something like that, right? And I was like, we all crying. Right? They want a dry eye in the room. They want a dry eye in the room. When he said that, I need you to confess before men why you know what I'm saying?
Yo, I'm shook.
Oh my God. That was it.
Them dudes, I like it.
Listen, they changed my life.
That era, like that boldness
changed my life.
It's
bro.
so powerful about it. Like we see the Hebrew Israelites and near where I stay, and you see that like aggressive energy. I feel like there's sometimes like, we kinda need that on our side a little bit too. Cause
they changed my life, man.
Yeah.
And you know what was special was we didn't just have that moment. They invited me to hang out with them.
Okay.
They were working on the first album, Heaven's Mentality. They let me just come hang out at the Bird's Nest studio. They let me, I think that was the year the Sixers went into the finals and playing the Lakers in the finals. They let me just hang out and eat pizza and be goofy and realize, oh, wait a minute. I thought I was the only one who was saved and wanted to do some kind of music. There are other people doing this. Yeah. Right? And so that was just dope. That was just dope.
So that collective essentially like reinvigorated your faith.
Totally. Yeah. That's fire. And so then fast forward a few years, to your point though, so I'm producing now. I'm working with different groups in Philly. I moved my studio home. Now I'm working a little bit with R. Swift and you got Jay Silas over here doing this thing and just trying to understand who people were. This is when the truth was still like unrecorded. You know what I mean? This was when he was doing a song called Paul. I know you're gonna hate me saying that, Truth. You hate that song now. But back then that was my joint. And Philly was building a nice collective. And so I'm still trying to figure out what to do. Bro, one day I got this job at this bank in Delaware. I'm still living at my mom's crib. It's like 21, 22. I'm driving I had moved. My wife and I were married. I'm driving down 95 to Delaware. This car's behind me, flicking his lights. I move over the lane. He's flicking his lights. I move over another lane. He gets back behind me. Finally, I pull over. He gets out of his car and walks up to me, and I'm like, what, man? He's a skinny white guy. He's like, I'm so nervous right now. I've never done anything like this before. The Lord told me to pull you over and tell you he's got work for you to do.
Trig.
What?
Who keeps dropping all these one-liners on you then leaving?
What?
That's the third one, dog.
I'm like, what? What?
He flagged you down too.
Flag me out. I'm supposed to invite you to dinner with my wife and I and further elaborate, I guess. I don't know. He's like, I've never done anything like this before. Lord told me to pull you over. 95 in Philly. Anybody from Philly listening would say,
you crazy.
Hey, bro, First of all, you crazy for pulling over. He's crazier for walking up to your car.
You might go see. You want to meet Jesus, boy. You might meet him tonight.
Listen.
I went home, told my wife. She said, "What? Dinner? Where they live?"
It was a white dude.
Yeah. My wife said, "All right." We look them up on the map where they live. This is before we have phones and maps. You gotta go on the online. We're like, damn, this little area in Jersey. We should tell people where we're going. Like we go over for dinner. Beautiful dinner. He just said, "Look, God spoke to him and wanted to make sure without a shadow of a doubt that you knew he's got work for you to do." What do I do with that? I mean, I'm praying. I'm like, what do I do with that?
That's amazing, man.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I think just hearing your story and like the inner workings of the behind, the backdrop of it is so like. It's really inspiring, man, and it's also seeing God's hand that was in it through all of that. When we get back, I still want to dig some more. I still want to get to because how the holy culture and the leaving corporate and all that kind of came together. But we'll be right back. This is the 116 Life Holy Culture Radio. This is the Trig story. You know what I'm saying?
For real.
This is the Trig story. This is the Trig documentary. You know what I'm saying?
God.
We'll be right back, y'all. Welcome back, y'all. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. I'm one of your hosts, Ace Harris, here with the amazing Meah Evans. And Trig, man, hearing your story is dope, man.
Thank you,
it's really great. I'm just thinking about the guy who flagged you down. I'm thinking about the lady who called you out. I'm thinking about Fanatic who told you why you ain't doing it for the Lord.
Yeah.
And all these things. So, I mean, did you know then that you would ascend into a space of like having this platform or like how did it get to like, I mean, hearing visions and hearing, I guess, prophecy and all that is great. But I think for us in the faith, it's not just hearing, it's acting on what you're being called to do. So how did those words lead into action and get into,
It didn't for a while. I mean, Vic founded Holy Culture, then I joined in, it feels like 99, 2000. And then listening to it just with the radio show. And then a year or so later, he said, "Man, why don't you be a partner, given everything you want to do?" And then, he left probably in 06 or so. And then, I was at JP Morgan Chase for a while. Then I went to Allstate to be president of a new business there. You run a new business, it's Holy Culture was on life support. I mean, for a minute, I think people thought like, man, y'all still around. We weren't doing as much radio. The website was kind of fledgling. And then, but I said to God, I said, if I'm going to do this, I feel like I need to be fully in it.
Right.
But I need you to show me. Like, I am such a fiscally conservative person. I was like, I'm not how people tell those stories of, I wanted to be a comedian, so I slept in my car for weeks and this. Nah.
That's not you.
Nah, bro. I ain't built that way. I'm gonna be honest. I need you, Lord, to show me that we can do this. And so that's the reason we took the job, because we had never left the Philadelphia area. So to move to Chicago and take that gig for 3 years.
Okay.
And I thought we would do that and come back. Then I get a call for another gig to go further to Dallas and be president of the B2B at that company and then chief commercial officer. The whole time my career is going upward trajectory, right? And then I get hit with it's time for you to roll. I'm like, hold up, Lord. You've been doing good in the companies. You've been working on diversity programs. You've been mentoring every person you can. You've been trying to remove the glass ceiling for some, help some avoid the glass cliff. Now it's time for you to go back to the hood, back to help the folks who are underserved, underrepresented, and do your work. And so I had wrote a book that was published in 2014 called Success on Your Own Terms. I was out speaking, and I was using my corporate platform to help me do the book. I'm speaking, like, oh, this is cool. I'm watching people take all these notes. I'm like, man, maybe we should do a workbook. So I call an instructional designer. She helps me design a workbook. And we're like, maybe we should develop a course. We're doing this while I'm doing my full-time gig and trying to maintain Holy Culture and CoreLink, which is
busy.
All right, bro. I'm working midnight. Bro. I could at that time I could work to midnight, 1 o'clock, and get back up at 5, no problem. Not now, but that then.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? And so
So
2018, there was a change in ownership of my company. I said, this is great. This is probably, if there's going to be a time, this is my time to roll. And that's when I left. After I left was when the Lord spoke to me on my prayer rug about the number I needed to reach. It was almost like a couple weeks after that. If you ever been in corporate and you leave to do your own thing, it is a very awkward transition. It's very awkward when you're used to waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and now you wake up and you're like, I've got no scorecard.
Yeah.
What do I do?
I've got no team. I've got nothing.
What's the deliverables? What's the task?
Right. And my wife's like, this is wonderful. This is where you want to be. He's like, yeah, but it's silly putty. Now I need to take the skills I had and create a strategy. What are we going to do? How are we going to bring this to life? For the first year, bro, you talk about swinging and hitting nothing. I didn't know what I didn't know. So as a nonprofit, we knew we wanted to take this curriculum out, help young black kids figure out their passion, purpose, how to live it out, how to help someone else. That was the overall premise. Next thing I know, I hired somebody who can help me do this. We find out, well, there's already 200 nonprofits in Delaware doing that. I mean, if there's already 200 people doing it, can we partner with them? Can we figure it out? And then it wasn't too far after that, we did that. We said, well, let's at least do something meaningful with Holy Culture. Let's start building some technology. And that's when we dropped the mobile app. And that really started to spark back up for Holy Culture. Now that we had our own mobile app, we were putting more content back out. We were starting to, you know what I mean? Starting to flourish a little bit and grow an audience. And then it was not too long after that the Sirius XM opportunity window started to open
timing.
up. Yeah.
So with CoreLink, how was it like raising funding and how was that difficult? Because you essentially left corporate and you're building a nonprofit platform while also building Holy Culture.
Yeah.
Like, was it an easy muscle to flex, or was it take a little bit of like bumps and bruises?
It was hard.
Okay.
It was hard. It was hard. You know, my wife and I invested and said, look, we're gonna have to put the first seed in. Okay. Right.
Oh, you stood on it.
Yeah, we stood on it. We said we'll make the investment. We're gonna have to. And I just think anytime you want to, the Lord gives a vision to a person, not a council.
Yeah.
And so you've got to, I think, have enough confidence in what the Lord is doing to not look for okays on it.
That's such a
right.
bar.
I mean, you have to
say it again.
Yeah,
bro.
Lord gives you a vision, not a counsel, so you can't look for everybody to say amen. And that is spiritually and physically. Like sometimes, what they call that adoption curve. There's the creator, there's the mavens, right? Then you get up towards that cycle of mass adoptions, and then there's the laggards, right? That early stage founder maven is you. So if you're expecting everybody to jump on because you have a vision, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. You have to make some of it manifest with God's help, of course.
I think the artists need to hear that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes in the artist community, there's this sense of, I've got this vision, so everybody just jump on.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's like, nah, God gave you, you got the ball.
Right.
So you got to like, you know what I'm saying, shoot the shot.
Shoot the shot. Do something.
And you're waiting for everybody to come on board.
Right.
And also my encouragement to the artists too, in the creative community is, don't be so petty if everybody didn't see it at first, okay? Yeah. That's that, like that, man, they didn't see my vision then, so they can't roll with me now. It's like, bruh, it's not everybody's supposed or equipped to see it.
Right.
And because God gave it to you specifically,
totally agree.
Not to the council. What you
totally
said.
agree. People get on at different points. It's like a train going from New York down to DC. People get on at different stops. It doesn't mean because they didn't get on with you in New York, they're less valuable. Yeah. They got on the train at the point they're supposed to, and they're going to get off at the point they're supposed to.
That's so good.
You know?
That's so good. Yeah, so I'm just curious, like, in the state of like, holy culture, radio, Christian hip hop. Speaking of artists, what are some things that you see now that we could like, grow in, lean into to help? Cause we had a conversation at dinner last night. It was a good conversation. It's talking about like the state of like media, Christian radio.
Yeah.
We got this thing. I mean, it's great. I'm so excited for the people and the stakeholders that are killing it.
Yeah.
What else needs to happen? And this is more so to the artists. What's something that they can do more of or better job of to help this thing grow? You know what I'm saying? And
That's
artists,
such a hard conversation.
Take the feedback, with the grain of salt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I just want to highlight what folks are doing really well. I mean, one, I think people have adapted a lot to the changing media environment, and I think you've seen a lot of artists who also fancy themselves as content creators. Are being more holistic as they develop, thinking about, you can see some of their thought process of, I want to develop a full range of content to engage an audience. You know what I mean? So I want to salute that. Secondly, I want to salute people who have stepped up their game sonically and figured out how to make sure the music is just being appealing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people throw stones like, oh, y'all only play stuff from Reach, or oh, yeah. It's like, no. We do have some criteria. By the way,
could you expound some? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I think all of us have to think about who our audience is. And so I'm conscious of the fact that, one, my biggest desire is to impact people as early as we can in there, right? I mean, any educator you talk to is like, used to be a time you say, well, let's get them in, in the junior year of high school. Principals and whatnot tell you now, you got to get them 5th grade, right? You got to get them at the impressionable stage before they develop habits.
That's good.
Right? And so we want to do that too. But I'm also like realistic. My listening audience who's paying for a Sirius XM subscription. So I got an audience on the mobile app, but my biggest audience by far that dwarfs that is a Sirius XM listener. These are people who are paying. Just think about that. They're paying to have a subscription. So Nelly, who is 55 years old, in her kitchen washing dishes before she picks up her child from school, needs to hear a song that she can sing along with.
I'm laughing.
That
for
she
so many
can
reasons.
sing along with. So I love bars like the next guy. I just told you I grew up on Cross Movement. I grew up in Philly. I know bars. I can give you bars. But Nelly can't track with your bars.
Shout out Nelly.
Nelly can't track with your
Nelly.
bars. Nelly's in the kitchen washing dishes, and you know what she wants to do? She wants to sing along with something. Glory to the Father. You deserve the praise. Putting stuff on the shelf. Take me to the altar. She needs something to sing with. I need to keep Nelly on, so then when Nelly goes to pick up her kid from school, who jumps in the car and wants to hear Drake or Lil somebody, she goes, no, hold up. I think I got something we both gonna like. And she turned back to us. And then she hear us, a song like Hovey, then he hears Dayton. Then she hears, I don't know, Alex Jean, then he hears Bizzle.
Yeah.
Then she hears this, then he hears
I love that.
Few.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I just want artists to know that we are never trying to block anybody out. We're just trying to create a spectrum and a drum beat sonically that can grab the audiences that we want.
Sure. That's so powerful, and a good nugget too. To just, especially when the art and commerce tension is so complicated at times.
Yeah.
And the art and art, like if we make art, out of our own intuition, and we want to love it and enjoy it. But if we want other people to enjoy it, there's things that we could probably consider.
Definitely.
Because it's not just for us to enjoy; it's for the world to enjoy, and as a conduit to present the gospel too. So I think artists just need to be mindful of that. You know what I'm saying?
Even when it comes to a show standpoint, a broadcaster standpoint, or an outlet, because we have experience there too. What areas do you see even growth there? The state of even where we are, even at Christian media, as broadcasters, podcasters, even today. Where do you see where we are now, and how can we grow to just to better heights and us being able to evolve as well?
Yeah. So one, I feel like I'm a student, right? Like I'm a student of what's happening with media. And so anything I say would be what I'm perceiving at the moment. Cause I feel like I'm daily learning. I'm literally in a Berkeley class right now, right? Because I'm trying to look at some of the media components at the macro level. And Berkeley's just so good at taking information and packaging it for learning that I'm going through that. And one of the things that pops out to me is when you watch how traditional media has moved, those who didn't move are gone, right? So companies like Disney started out with theme parks, did Disney Radio, went international, bought ESPN, ABC, all those different networks, but then quickly moved from linear media, meaning appointment watching, you must watch this show at 8:00, to diversifying their assets and creating streaming. Hulu, they own, right? Other streaming platforms. And so they diversified their revenue streams. Theme parks is still the biggest thing, but they're like, we can't always make people come to places. We also have to have for that consumer attitude of, I want it when I want it, how I want it, right? And so I think we have the same thing when it comes to Christian culture, church, and everything otherwise, of how do we make a table that people can have it how they want it, when they want it. You may say, nah, they got to come to the 10 a.m. service. Well, we've seen that disruption clearly. You know what I mean? You can call it a black swan moment, but I also think, consumer choice and preference has to be considered. And so when I think about us in media, I'm thinking the same way. Create undeniable content that can be available in the right places, and then to the extent we can, own more of the places. So we can always start on leased land. You can always start on YouTube and places like that. But to the extent you can, also then own the places, because that helps the business model be sustained.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so good. Is there anything that you feel like you want to leave our listeners with, like in terms of encouragement to the CHH community, an encouragement or a challenge, something that we know that, because I feel like your wisdom is so important. You are one of like the leading voices, and something you said on the first segment that I want to like call back to was, people say that there's not infrastructure. There's great talent. There's dope people. We need more infrastructure. Not many people have said that, heard that, and actually taken their own money, resources, wisdom to actually do something about it. And you're one of the few people that are. Yeah. So with that, what is your like challenge or encouragement to like the Christian hip hop community in light of where you are and where things are going?
I would say, first of all, thank you for those compliments, bro. I'm humbled, man. Like I said, I feel like I'm a student. I would say observe other industries and how they move and how they create burning platforms. So if you're a doctor, you're in the American Medical Association. If you're a dentist, you're in the American Dental Association. If you're a contractor, you're a part of the union. What do we have? What those spaces do for you, those professional associations, they become points of advocacy. They help summarize the issues that the membership is talking about and create a list of priorities. They help put money behind those priorities, right? They help provide education and learning so you can matriculate in what you're doing. So, and if you're a doctor, you know the oath, right? Commit no harm. If you commit harm, you got a problem with the American Medical Association. They're gonna talk to you about it. They're gonna counsel you. You feel accountable and you submit to being accountable, right? I would just ask everyone in CHH to think about, what do we have that we present to the world as being organized?
That's so good.
It's wonderful that we can do everything DIY.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful thing. It's like liberty, it's freedom, God's given it to us, there's the tools. But at the same time, if we got the call and someone said, can y'all take over the Great American Family Channel? We would be scrambling to pull people together. If BET called and said, we want to do a BET CHH, what y'all gonna do? I'd be making mass phone calls. I can't say we have an organization that is already together. We have 200 members, paying members. We have a leadership team that helps facilitate, so on and so forth.
Now you talking.
And we, by the way, we've already kind of thought about this, and we've got a library of content that spans from this to that and so on and so forth. Sure, I could rattle off a bunch of names loosely now. No big deal. We can do this, we can do that. I'll call Reach or do this. But we're not organized to mobilize, yeah.
We're not organized.
Organized to mobilize, yeah.
That's so good. I ain't got nothing else to add after that. Whew. Thank you, Trig.
Thank
for
you,
sharing
man.
your time,
Thank
sharing
you.
your platform, sharing your heart. For everybody listening, continue. First of all, thank you for everybody that has tuned in, is tuning in. We'll continue. We thank y'all so much. Yeah. We don't take this lightly.
Y'all do such a great job, bro.
Thank you.
Meah, y'all do. I call both y'all, bro, but Meah, miss me. y'all do such a great job.
We are really
I'm
humble.
so happy to have y'all on the channel, man. For real, y'all bless us with thoughtful and thought-provoking conversations that are needed so much in our community. So thank you.
So good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So 116 Life, Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. We'll see y'all next week.
Blessings.